Hey y'all, happy TLC Tuesday. I know that this is a totally different type of scenery, totally different lighting scheme, everything, but I recorded a video earlier and I just didn't like how I deep dived. I didn't feel like I deep dived enough. So we're about to really deep dive into this topic. So today I'm deep diving into toxic and abusive relationships. Maybe more on the toxic end than the abusive end, but I think that toxic relationships and abusive relationships share a lot of similarities. So I think that it's important to note that a lot of the ways that you can overcome are similar. So I always like to start off the same way. I'm going to give you a synopsis or a definition of what a toxic relationship is. A toxic relationship is one that consistently undermines your sense of well-being, happiness, and at times safety. So yeah, that's the difference between toxic and abusive. Abusive is definitely undermining your safety every time because they're harming you. And toxic is maybe undermining your safety, but definitely undermining your sense of well-being and your happiness. And I'm getting this definition from Calm, the blog on toxic relationships. Now, how do you know if a person is toxic? That's a tough question just because there are so many different types of people and every person is different. So there are things that might be telltale signs for one person that might not be for others. But I will say that if a person is trying to isolate you from your friends or your family in any way, shape, or form, that is a telltale sign that they are a toxic person and that they may even be manipulative. Another telltale sign is if they can't communicate. You have a minor disagreement and it's overcomplicated by the fact that they just can't communicate. How do they treat other people? And how do they treat animals too? Pay attention to that. But as you know, if a person treats others badly, women, children, men, the likes, whoever, badly, service workers is like a huge red flag. If somebody is rude to service workers, leave. But and I'm gonna always preface this, everything I'm saying is my personal opinion. These are my experiences, and not everybody else's will be the same. So do with that information what you will. But that being said, yes, if they're rude to service workers, if they're rude to other people, if their relationship with their family is rocky, like they're just villainizing their family, red flags may go up. If you meet their family and they don't seem anything like what they've described, and like the villains and the evil people that they seemed to be based off the stories, that's something to pay attention to. Do they talk about their ex a lot? And I mean, first date, talk about their ex a lot. I mean, after the first date, talk about their ex a lot. If they do, there's a likelihood of one of two things. Either they're not over the ex is still around or in that person's life, or they're the villain that they're making their ex out to be. Everything that they're telling you about their ex is things that they have done or will do to you, and they just want you to be a common enemy along with them of the ex. And they also don't want you to find out what happened between them, because that would also ruin your view of them and how you move forward in the relationship. Before I even go any further, the biggest telltale sign of if a person is toxic for you specifically is how they treat you. How do they make you feel? deep down inside, how do they make you feel? And I don't mean when you get into a disagreement, a real bad disagreement, and they decide they want to love bomb you. I mean, how do they make you feel? Do you feel happy when they're being brought up? Do you feel happy when you're around them? Is a majority of the time that you're around them, you're sad, you're mad, you're frantic, you're anxiety, you feel anxiety, your alerts are up, you know? Is there a constant struggle, a power struggle between the two of you? You know, there's a lot of things that start to manifest in a real toxic relationship. But, you know, I think that to a certain extent, because of how glorified toxic relationships are, a lot of us already know a toxic person when we see them. But some of us might not. And they do a good job of being a wolf in sheep's clothing. So it's not something to beat yourself up about if you do not know a person is toxic off rip. But once you figure out that a person is toxic for you, now you have to decide, what do I want to do? Do I want to be with them still? Do I love them so much that I'm willing to keep putting my happiness and my well-being in harm's way? Or do I love me enough that I want to leave? If you choose the first one, there's a very long line of videos that I would have to make for you, because it's a very long road that you're going to have to go down. There are actually pages that can help you navigate through the waters of choosing to continue to be in that toxic relationship once you've determined that it's toxic for you. And I will point those out to you, because I at one point did choose that I wanted to stay in the toxic relationship. So I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to say anything bad about it, because I respect everybody's decision in these situations, because there's no book or manual written about how to navigate them. So let's say you choose B, 2, whichever one. You choose that you want to leave because you love you and you want to heal from this. And if you don't choose the second option, it doesn't mean you don't love you. Both of them, you love you. But in this option, you get the best outcome for yourself. And if you do want to embark on the journey of healing, I think that it's important to have a rock solid support system around you. I think it's important to get a therapist. And I think the stigma is finally being broken around therapy, but I feel like it's very important to do. And I'm going to also link some resources for therapy. Not only therapy, crisis hotlines, suicide hotlines, abuse hotlines. There are hotlines for everything when it comes to that. There's a number you can call for all of it. And I'm gonna put that in the description. But that being said, yes, you choose that you want to do that. Build that support system. I think a therapist is important because they give you a non-biased point of view. Your parents and your friends, they love you and they're always going to look out for you. But when they know somebody's toxic for you, I think that the only advice that they can give you is to leave. And I'm not going to tell you that they're wrong. They're not. That's going to be like I said, that's going to be your best outcome. But the issue is that it's not that simple. And that's what I do understand. It's not so easy to build the strength to leave. So if it's not easy, give yourself grace. Do not beat yourself up if this is not something that you can do the first time off rip. You realize that they're toxic. You can't leave right now. That's okay. Take your time. Take all the time that you need, because you want to make sure that when you do leave, you don't come back. Because I can't promise. Everybody's situation is different. In my personal experience, every time that you go back, it gets worse. It gets more and more volatile. Maybe a toxic situation turns into a real abusive situation. And the next thing you know, you're years into it with somebody, and you have not explored your goals, your personal goals, and you've poured yourself into somebody that you soon realize you cannot stand. You cannot be around them anymore because you realize just how toxic they are to you. Now, that being said, when you do build the strength to finally walk out that door, do it and don't look back. Go no contact. Get a new phone number. My advice, my personal advice as well, protect yourself. Protect yourself as far as don't be afraid to be a snitch. Girls say to me, I don't want to be a snitch. I don't want to. Girl, do you live in the streets? Is that important to you? Is that lifestyle important to you? How are you a snitch if somebody is harming you? I'm talking about somebody harming you. Now, if it ends to a somewhat amicable, you know what I mean, standpoint, and it doesn't get to a point of violence, it doesn't get to a point of threats, it doesn't get too far, you're good. Don't worry about it. But if it goes too far, protect yourself. Yes, call the police. Let the police know what happened. Make a police report, your local police. Yes. If they do anything to harm you, they do anything to damage your property, footage, take photos, get proof. If they call you, they start harassing you, they get your new number. Or if you don't get a new number and they're just finding ways to get new numbers, emailing you, all the likes, yeah, screenshot all of it, keep proof, go get you a dating violence protective order, and don't end up on the news. Don't end up on First 48. Don't end up, because people don't take it seriously when people make threats and then they end up on the news, and it breaks my freaking heart because I've been in situations where I could have ended up on the news. Give yourself the grace and the time that you need to leave. Understand that there are a lot more people that know what you've been through, that have been through similar, that you can talk to, that you can relate to. You're not alone. You don't have to feel like you have to hide, like you have to keep it to yourself anymore. None of that. Okay? Have a wonderful TLC Tuesday.